Dear students, we are discussing about the coordination, the linking system. So mainly about the brain, spinal cord and the nerves. In the previous class we discussed about the functioning of the brain, spinal cord, cranial nerves, spinal nerves, nerve cell heads, all these things we discussed. Now I am going to explain, I asked you a question in the last previous class, is there any alternate system to the nerves coordination? Not only the nerves, other functions also, not only the nerves, the functions are also carried out by other ways. What are that ways? What are the organs involved in it? I already told you that the patients who are suffering with the diabetic, sugar diabetic, they are taking the injections intravenously. What happens to them? The substance which is intravenously injected into the body, it controls the metabolic activities in the blood. That means not only the nerves or the central nervous system, other organs also involves in the metabolic activities of the body, the functioning of the body. So in the first one, I am going to explain about the story of insulin. Story of insulin. So, what the diabetic patients taking is insulin. Okay, what are the conditions of insulin or what is the condition of the diabetic, sugar or diabetic? I will explain about it clearly now. So, here is the story of insulin. In the year 1868, a professor named a pathology professor Paul Langerhans. In the year 1868, a professor of pathology. So what is pathology? Studying about different types of diseases. And how they are carried, how they are spread. So, in the 1868, the professor of pathology named Paul Langerhans in the Institute of Freiburg in the Germany, he noticed when he observed the pancreas, the structure of the pancreas. He studied the structure of pancreas. Dear students, follow your textbooks. Okay, now. So when he observed the structure of the pancreas, he observed that he noted a certain patches of cells quite different in normal appearance. Okay, now the pancreas, he noted that a certain patches of cells appearing quite different to the normal tissue cells, and they are richly supplied with the blood vessels, and he named that cells islets of Langerhans. Okay. So, in the year 1868, a professor of pathology in the Institute of Freiburg, Germany, called Paul Langerhans, studied the structure of the pancreas. During the observation of pancreas, he noted that certain patches of cells, which appears quite different to the normal tissue cells. Okay, and richly supplied with the blood vessels, and he named it as islets of Langerhans, but their function was remain unknown. Here, islet stands for island. You know island, four side water, one side land, central land. Okay, so he named the cells islets of Langerhans, and the function was unknown. Other scientists also very interested about in the functioning of pancreas. Others are also interested in the working of the pancreas. And they finally noted that what is the function of pancreas? So the removal of pancreas from an experimental animal, an experimental animal will develop a disease which is well known in the human beings, the human diseases, that is sugar diabetic. Sugar diabetic. Okay, na? So, Balakoteswararao and other scientists, they noted that the removal of pancreas of an experimental animal, they noted that the removal of these pancreas causes, it develops a well-known disease, human ailment, that is sugar diabetic. What is the condition of sugar diabetic? This is the condition of high blood sugar. Okay, na? High sugar. This is the condition of sugar in the blood and urine than its normal levels. This condition is known as sugar diabetic. Do you understand? The removal of pancreas from the experimental animal lead to develop a disease called sugar diabetic. What is diabetic? The diabetic means it is the condition of the levels of sugars, the high levels of sugars in the blood and urine than its normal levels. It is called diabetic. So in the man, the reason for diabetic was unknown in those days, but they believed that the pancreas plays an important role in the controlling of sugar in the blood. Do you understand? So they conducted in the second experiment, in the second stage, they come to first stage, pancreas, it has possible role in controlling of sugar in the blood. In the second stage, they noticed that by tying up the pancreatic duct that emerged from the pancreas. So in the second stage, they found that by tying up a pancreatic duct that emerged from the duodenum, What is duodenum? One of the parts of small intestine. Okay, now the small intestine has three parts: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Okay, now you will learn more about it in the higher classes. Here, in the second stage, what they did, all the scientists done some experiments on this pancreas. And they found that by tying up a pancreatic duct, tying up a pancreatic duct that emerged from the duodenum, which is small portion of one of the parts of the small intestine, would cause the degenerate of pancreas. In the experimental animal. But still the islets of Langerhans cells was remained. Okay, now when the animal so treated, but it didn't develop the diabetic. Okay, now okay, when it so treated, the animals was treated like this, but these animals did not develop the diabetes. That means the sugar levels are not increased in the blood and sugar because the islet cells are remain. So they concluded that these cells in the 1912. So the islet cells has a possible role and they release a secretion. They release a secretion directly into the blood. Which maintains the proper level of sugar. So they named that secretion from the pancreas is insulin. What is that? Insulin. In Latin, insula means island. Insula means island. So you know island. In Latin, the insulin is Latin word. In Latin word, insula means island. Okay, now in the 1912, the workers confirmed that the pancreas plays an important role in the controlling of sugar in the blood and urine. Okay, here in the second stage, here the pancreas duct was closed, which emerged from the duodenum of experimental animal would cause the degenerate of pancreas, but the islet cells was remain. The islet cells directly release their secretions into the blood. Okay, so directly release their secretions into the blood and maintain the proper concentration levels of proper maintaining of sugar in the blood and urine. So they named that insulin. Okay, Nowadays, the insulin is plays an important role in the condition of sugar diabetic patients. Okay, so 3 years, 10 years later, after this 10 years later, in Toronto, in a place called Toronto, Banting, Best and MacLeod, 3 persons, 3 scientists, Banting, Best and MacLeod finally succeeded to the extracting the insulin from the degenerate animals whose ducts to the small intestine had been tied off. In the second year, in the case, pancreatic duct closed. In the third case, the duct that emerged from the small intestine, the whole small intestine has tied up. Okay now, and this causes degenerating animals, and they extract the insulin from the degenerate animal. Okay, when this insulin is given intravenously to a dog with no pancreas, okay now, with no pancreas, this makes the dog alive without the development of sugar diabetic. Okay, so they all believe that now onwards the insulin plays an important role. Even though they could not isolate the islets of Langerhans cells, they give a name insulin to it. Okay, 10 years later of this second experiment in Toronto, Banting, Best, MacLeod succeeded in extracting the insulin from a degenerate animal whose duct to the small intestine had been tied off. And this when this insulin is given to a dog by the intravenous which do not have the pancreas, this insulin keep the dog alive without developing of insulin. Okay, so dear students, we discussed up to this insulin. So in this case, there is no permission of or no work of nerve coordination. Okay, now the hormone insulin plays an important role in maintaining level of the sugar in the blood and urine. Okay, now I am going to explain another important thing about the different types of hormones. Are only the insulin hormone in the body? Okay, now pancreas is a gland. Okay, now so there are different types of glands that are present in our body and they release their secretions. Here I am going to explain other coordinated movements in the body. Other coordinated movements. Up to now we discussed about the nerves, brain, spinal cord. Just now we discussed about the insulin. Other coordinated movements. Is there any other hormones are there like this insulin? Once you think about it, okay now, the events that affect in one part of the body indeed controlled by the substances that circulate in the blood. Okay now, do you understand? The events that affects in one part of the body, the events that affect in one part of the body is controlled by the substances that circulated in the blood, which are overwhelming. Okay, in the 1905, an English physiologist Starling gave the name to these substances as hormones, which can control some of the functions of the body. Okay, now English physiologist Starling gave the name hormones. Hormone means to impel, to secrete, release. Do you understand? So other coordinated movements are there in the body. Okay, what are controlled by the hormones? Okay, now the coordinated movements not only by the nerves, brain or spinal cord, other substances that circulating in the blood is controlling these functions. So Starling, English physiologist, gave the name hormone. Okay, hormone means to impel. There are different types of hormones are present in the body which are secreted by the glands. Hormones are secreted by glands. Glands are categorized into two types: duct glands, ductless glands. Okay, now the hormones are secreted by the glands, and the structure of they have in the tube are duct. They are duct glands and ductless glands. Okay now. So what are ductless glands? The glands which do not have any tube or duct to carry their secretion from it released place to other organs. Such type of glands are called ductless glands. These are also known as endocrine glands. Endocrine glands. These glands do not have tube or duct. Okay, these hormones, these glands do not have any tube or duct for transport of the materials like other liver and pancreas. Okay, now I will explain. Ductless glands examples: pituitary glands, adrenal gland, thyroid gland, testes, that means ovary, testosterone, number of glands. Okay, so duct glands, these glands have the tubes or the ducts to carry their secretions into the blood. These are called duct glands. Sorry, these are duct, not ductless. I'm sorry about it. These are duct glands, they are ductless glands. Ductless glands do not have any type of tube. Duct glands have tubes. They have tube for their secretions. For example, liver and pancreas. Okay now. Liver and pancreas. Now I am going to ask you a question. What will you do when a dog is running afterwards you? When a dog is after you or it barking at you, or unfortunately if you see a snake, what will you do? For the first thing we do is we run away from the place. Okay now. So what causes that movement? The immediate movement. Okay. At the time of the situations when we are afraid or frightened. At the time of situations when we are frightened, unfortunately dog is barks on us or it runs afterwards. So at the situations, there are some changes that takes place in the body. That is, the heartbeat increases, the breath rate increases, okay, now blood pressure increases, hair on the skin becomes erect and it forms goosebumps. Yes or no? Not only these, and other things also happens. That is expansion of pupil. Expansion of pupil, and skin becomes more sensitive. Skin becomes more sensitive, and sometimes the rectum or bladder may be emptied. Yes or no? These all are the conditions happens when we are afraid or frightened or excited. So in these conditions, okay, in these conditions, can nerves have any type of possible role? No. In these situations, the nerve coordination do not have any possible role. Okay. So here, up to now we discussed in the previous classes, the nerves carry the messages from sense organs to central nervous system, from central nervous system to the muscles. In this case, when we run away from the place, that means when dog is barks at us, in this case the nerves action is very limited. Instead of that, a hormone called adrenaline. What is that? Adrenaline. A hormone called adrenaline secreted from adrenal gland. Adrenal gland plays an important role in these excited or frightened situations. Okay now. So the adrenal hormone is responsible for frightening or anxiety, excitement. Okay, anger. So the adrenal hormone is also known as fight or flight hormone. Fight or flight hormone. What's the reason? This causes, okay now, angriness, anger, anxiety, excitement, frightens. Okay now, because of that known as fight or flight hormone. Okay now, the endocrine system, that means ductless glands. These glands do not have any ducts. Adrenal hormone immediately entered into the blood. Okay now, the increasing of adrenal hormone in the blood that causes anger, excitement. Okay, So the endocrine gland along with the nerve coordination then maintains the functioning of our body. Now I am going to explain the feedback mechanism. Feedback mechanism. Have you ever observed the fight or flight behavior of a cat and dog? Fight or flight behavior cat and dog. So the releasing of what is the fight and flight behavior of cat and dog? The two kittens when they come each other they will fight. They do not have any type of disputes. Dogs also like that. Okay na? The cat is running by saying the mouse. All these things happens because of the hormones. Okay now, so there is a something mechanism that present in the body that regulates these hormones. Okay, the hormones are not releasing at a steady rate. Okay now, they release on the dependent on the body activity. Example, the adrenaline hormone is normally low at output, but during the excitement, anxiety or anger situations, large amount of adrenal hormone is releases in the body. This causes angriness. This causes to fights or wars. Okay, so in the case of by releasing the adrenaline hormone into the blood, that causes anger. Okay, when the adrenal hormone in the blood is reduced, this becomes us to the normal situations. Okay, so we know very well the anger is always a short-lived factor. If the anger is persist for longer time, this disturbs the metabolic activities of our body. Here, the adrenal hormone plays an important role in the anxiety or anger or frightness. Like that, whenever the sugar levels in the blood is increases, the islet cells detects by the pancreas. Islet cells in the pancreas detects that increasing of sugar levels and immediately release the insulin. So insulin maintains the proper concentration of sugar in the blood and urine. Okay, dear students, up to now we discussed that different types of what is that one? Hormones. You have the hormones table in our book. You can see pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, ovaries, testes, testosterone, like this. Okay, so it is very important that the hormones are secreted from the glands. These hormones maintaining the different types of functions in the body. I already told you that the hormones are not released by the depending on the function or activity of the organism. Okay, the hormones that released into the body or into the blood, they have to come to the normal state. Okay, otherwise it will disturb us. For example, the best example is when you are hungry. When you feel hungry, what is the reason behind it? This is also because of hormonal condition. Okay, so at the time of the stomach goes empty, a hormone named ghrelin is released. Ghrelin hormone. Ghrelin hormone is released, and this motivates you to take or consume food. Or if you fill the stomach with food, if there is no need of food, at the time another type of hormone is released, that is leptin. Leptin. Okay, now according to our age, our body parts are growing. Adolescents. Okay, now elders, youngs, youth, okay, citizens, senior citizens, like that. So this is not only the nerve coordination, also the endocrine glands or the ductal glands plays an important role. You understand? So up to now, you discussed about it. Thank you very much.